I'm honoured to present the Asia Society Lifetime Achievement Award to Mike Bloomberg. As we just saw, he's a long-standing visionary in the fight against climate change, and he remains at the forefront of national and international efforts. His initiative, by the way, on C40 cities and mayors is the real deal. I know lots of these mayors around the world. They've received support, training, and financial incentives to act on climate change. And as a result, what Mike's initiative has done worldwide is empower subnational governments and city governments to rise to the occasion when their national governments have fallen by the wayside. And talking about national governments falling by the wayside, when that happened here between 2017 and 2021, there's one man who stood in the breach in terms of climate action in those 4 dark years. Please welcome to the stage, Mike Bloomberg.
Well, good evening, and thank you, everyone. Ida, Nick, Alok, and Kevin. Kevin, thank you for that great introduction. You delivered it exactly the way I wrote it, so it's perfect. But it really should recognize the entire team at Bloomberg. My contribution is to help pull them together and select them, but then they're the ones that really do the work day in and day out. And it's not just doing the work, it's coming up with all of the ideas that the foundation has tried to support. We're honored to be able to do it. Thank you to our customers who are actually footing the bill for all the philanthropy. But it also, with Patty Harris and the people that work at Bloomberg Philanthropies, they're the ones that are going to change this world, and you and I are just part of it. And hopefully we are an important part of it. It was a great video. I really did enjoy it, particularly the picture of my mother. My mother died about a dozen years ago at age 102, but she came and held the Bible while I got sworn in. And she is still on the voicemail at the house where I grew up, and she died. So if you call, she will say, hello. If you ask her a question, so far she hasn't answered, but nevertheless, it was one of the greatest moments of my life to see her up there, and I think she was the one that really enjoyed it. I'm also grateful to Kevin for his leadership on climate action and his longtime partnership, including the Bloomberg New Energy Forum, which we're glad to be convening in Singapore next month. The forum shares a mission that I think all of us have, and it's certainly a mission with the Asia Society of bridging divides between both East and West, North and South. And the Asia Society's collection and programs make it one of the city's most important cultural institutions. For decades, it has also been a bridge builder, an advocate for strong partnerships between Asia and the United States, and a leader on critical issues facing the world. And I've seen all of that firsthand, beginning in City Hall, where we were glad to help support the Asia Society, and now at both our company and Bloomberg Philanthropies, where we dedicate an enormous amount of time and energy to fostering global partnerships. And a big part of our work is bringing together groups at every level of society to fight climate change. And this kind of all-in approach is so important because the threats from climate change are continuing, sadly, to get worse, not better. And we can see this just about every time we read the newspapers or turn on the television. How anybody could deny what's happening out there is just inconceivable. It just can't be true. You can see the results right now, and people talk about doing something by 2050. None of us, very few of us in this room will be around in 2050, but nobody's going to be around in 2050 at the rate things are going. And then we said 2040. I'm not even sure that 2030 is a date. The date may be today, or sadly, the date may be behind us. You're never going to know until we keep trying to pull together and make a difference. Just look at the extreme floods and the droughts, the wildfires and the storms. All of them at record levels, death and destruction and financial and economic losses of the results. But I do think that it's important to remember that we have shown that it really is possible to make progress if and when we work together. If for sure, and the when is getting shorter and shorter, closer and closer to us. And let me give you just one example. In the video, you heard about our Beyond Coal campaign, and it's been called the most successful environmental campaign in history, and for good reason. We've helped with the Sierra Club and retire nearly 70%, 70% of all U.S. coal plants. They are either closed or in the process of being closed. And more than 50% of Europe's coal-fired power plants. Sadly, I did not mention Asia. Asia really is the key to this. If China and India and Russia and America don't pull together, we cannot get this done. Those countries are just so big, and it certainly starts in Asia. America's doing some. Russia, who knows what's going to happen there, but China and India talk about it, but they certainly haven't done anywhere near enough to start making a difference. The progress that we have made, however, has saved thousands of lives while also putting the United States and Europe on track to uphold the Paris Climate Agreement. And after the success that we've had in the US and Europe, we've launched an additional campaign working with local communities in Australia and Japan and South Korea. And in India, we've helped to scale clean energy, including by supporting the work of another of your honorees tonight, Dr. Ghosh, who you're going to hear from later. And over the past year, we've announced a major expansion of our work on clean energy transition in more countries, including the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. In a growing number of places, we're making important progress, but so much more work, as I said, is necessary. Public health and the livelihoods are at stake around the world right now, and we really don't have a day to waste. And that's the message that I'm going to take to Egypt in 2 weeks when we rally our network around the UN Climate Conference, COP27.